Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Pam with Perfectly Holistic, and we are back for another really cool, fun show. And my friend Rita Hogan is back to talk about herbs. And we also have a little cameo appearance from Gunner tonight. So
So
he's
cute.
hanging out with us and learning about herbs for gut and immune support. So, Rita, welcome back.
Hi. It's so nice to be back so soon.
I know it's fun. It's fun. If you guys are watching tonight, drop a comment if you have questions. And I love to know where you guys are from, where you're watching from. So let us know you're here and where you're watching from. And that way we can give you a shout out. Um, we have a really cool topic tonight. I know that with a lot of cats, they struggle with allergies, they struggle with immune and just immune issues of all kinds. They struggle with digestive issues, and the immune system and the gut and the digestive systems share the same real estate, as I like to say. So if one is impaired, probably the other is too. So we're going to pick Rita's brain tonight and see what she recommends, what her favorite herbs. I know she probably has at least 50 favorite herbs, but we or more. We won't have 100, a top 100 list, but I'm curious to know what Rita's favorite herbs are for helping to restore the gut and the immune system. So, Rita, thank you. And we're just so excited to learn some more.
I'm super excited to be here again. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Um yeah, talking about kitties is fun. I as we were speaking, I have two of kitties now. I've always had cats, always. Um but uh these two new cats, Carl and Oscar, are beyond just so sweet and just so much fun and always up to mischief and just are just I love them. I just absolutely love them. So I've always loved my cats, but these two are just they're a little on the special side, you
Yeah.
know.
Isn't that cool when they find us?
So
It's like
cute.
this bond that you just cannot even put into words sometimes how amazing they are. And I find it so ironic that you are known as the canine herbalist, but you just have these cats that steal your heart.
I do. I do. I do. And cat people have stolen my heart. Like I'm friends with a lot of people that just absolutely love cats. And, I didn't know we were going to get two new kittens last year. And we did.
Ugh.
And so we got them in September, I believe. And I rescued one from California and purchased one here. Uh, that was it was the last of the litter, and it wasn't doing well. They were not good cat people. We actually went to get a little Siamese kitten,
Oh.
um, and that kitten was not ready to leave his mama. So I
Oh.
was like, no, we can't have that kitten. So um, the neighbor had a litter of ragdoll
Mm-hmm.
Siamese cats, and they brought over this one, and he was in dire straits. I could tell he wasn't well, and we spent God months getting him back on his feet. And he's allergic to everything pine and fur. So now we have to have a fake Christmas tree. Um, I've given up quite a bit for that little sucker, and I love him. I mean, they're just Carl and what's great, and what I tell everybody, and I have pictures to prove it. Um, it's like Carl and Oscar are two little souls that had been separated before, and they have found each other. They spend
Mm.
99.9% of their entire day in the heart position,
Oh.
and they just kiss each other and groom each other all day long.
Oh.
They're just adorable. And then Oscar spends the entire night on my partner's face. Just it sleeps right here with one tooth in the skin, and just this is it all night long. So cute. He's just a doll. I love him. So
Maybe he was also like in a previous life with your partner too, and he's like, "Oh, we're back together again."
so cute. Oh
You
my god.
know?
He's a dream. He's a dreamy kitty. Dreamy kitty.
Now, what does he look like? Is he the rag doll?
Yeah, he's a rag doll. He's big. He's white and kind of different colors in the white.
Mhm,
And he's
mhm.
huge. He's a big kitty. And he was starving when he was a baby. We had a really
Oh,
hard time putting weight on him. He was just fur and bones.
mhm.
And but now he's went the opposite direction where he could stand to lose a few pounds.
He's making up for lost
Yeah,
time.
he steals his brother's food. We have to feed him separately now
Oh my
because he just, elbows him out like, "Give me that food,
Yeah,
Carl,
like, "That's mine. Go
my
get your
food."
go get your own."
Yeah. So,
But
yeah, so it's fun. So, yes, the cat people and kitties have stolen my heart, and my dogs love the cats, and
oh,
so it's all going well over here.
it's just a big happy family.
Yeah, it really is. Love it.
That's awesome.
Um, I just need like a pig and one of those miniature cows and little miniature horse and a flock of chick. I need all of that. That's what I need. Um,
You
I'm super excited to talk about the gut and immune. Um, the interesting thing is cat herbs are starting to show up. I'm starting to put some patterns together now that I've paid more attention to cats lately.
Isn't
Um,
that
you
cool?
know, they're nothing like dogs, but as far as herbs are concerned,
Mhm.
um, a lot of them, they share a lot of the same herbs, which is good. It's just
Yeah.
easier to get dogs to take the herbs than cats. But
Yes.
yeah, I personally like tinctures with cats or glycerates.
Mhm.
It just makes it easier, and they're very sensitive to the medicine, so you don't need much at all. And that's what I've been liking about that because I've tried some powders. My cats aren't excited about that. They're like, no.
Mhm.
So I just been diluting things down and just dripping it in their food, and they've been fine.
That's
So
cool.
that's what, yeah. Or my other cat, Bones, he lived till he was almost 23. He was such a good kitty. Um, I used to put the oven mitts on, and I would just put an oven mitt and I'd hold him like this, and then I would take my hand and and um, he did pretty well with that. He knew when I put the oven mitts on that because every now and then he would take a bite out of crime.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
He'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not doing it." Especially, usually only when I was giving him medicine that he had to have, like 3 years before he died, he had kidney failure,
Mhm.
and we got him out of kidney failure, but I had to give him certain herbs every day, 3 times a day, and he wasn't too happy about that, but
Yep.
we got him out of kidney failure, and he lived another 3 really great years.
That's
So,
awesome.
but he had to deal with the oven mitts and me giving him medicine, so
Well, that's better than a vet having to give him medicine, so, you know.
yeah.
That's
I don't know, I'm new to the cat world, remember that, but we have this thing called a pillar.
Mhm.
It's this long thing and oh my god, I had no idea. You just and it's, like, done, and I was just like, "Oh my god." So you can make these little things called herbal pills. They're not pills, but they're like crushed herbs, and
Mhm.
you compact them, you put a little binder in them, and then you compact them, and I can give cats herbs that way, like, super easy with a pillar.
Oh,
So, I'm
you're so
experimenting.
I love that. Have you ever you probably have. Have you ever done it where you, like, mix the herbs into some butter and form it like a little ball or something and freeze them?
No, I have not done that. Um, I'm not a huge fan of giving anything frozen to animals in general. Um,
Well, I
but
wouldn't feed it frozen, but that's a good way to keep
oh,
like, to
you let
get
it
it
thaw?
cold and hard and then let it thaw a little
Oh,
bit.
let it thaw. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. I
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know if you gave it to him
No,
frozen.
or
No, I have
refrigerated.
not. But I like to shut. I've been experimenting with cats. So with Oscar and Carl, but like getting them like these little things, and I've been experimenting with the pillar, and
Mhm.
it works really well. So I'm
What
working
do you
on
what do you use as a binder?
that. Raw honey.
Nice.
You only need as to
Like
bind like herbs,
yeah,
uh, powdered. I mean, you really only need about that much honey.
right. It's just a tiny bit, just enough to stick it together.
Yeah, and they don't mind that at all. I'm experimenting with other things, but I'm not sure what that other things are yet.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Um,
that's amazing. That's
yeah, I'm
because
thinking maybe organic blackstrap molasses because I mean, really, it's like a 16th of a teaspoon of binder to get the herbs just to kind of stick together to go, and then you roll it and then put it in the pillar. So
Mhm.
I'm working on it.
That's amazing. Because, as cat parents, there's always gonna be a time when we have to give our cats something that they don't necessarily want. You can't have enough options and tools to try and experiment with, you know? You just you just never know what's gonna work and what they're gonna go for, and you might be surprised you find something that they're like, "Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. I can have another one," you know?
Well, and as humans, we take stuff that we don't necessarily like. There's this syrup called wild cherry bark syrup by Planetary Herbals. Okay, I'm going to let you know that stuff will knock a cold out so quickly. It is so awful that
Mm.
I hold my nose and then I get something to chase it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hold my nose, I put it down and I get something to chase it and then I do
Yeah, yeah.
I do like the gag reflex, the whole thing. But I'm telling you,
It's worth it.
it is worth it. Like it's gone. And it works so well, but it is just god awful. It's so bad. And so, we take things that we don't want, not
Yep.
necessarily as bad as wild cherry bark syrup, but and we have to find ways that we can take it and
Mhm,
make it manageable as well. So
mhm. I
yeah.
totally get you. I do. I do.
So let's talk about gut and immune herbs. I picked
Let's
out a
do.
few of my favorites,
Oh,
and
cool.
I also thought of palatability and
Yeah.
how you can give it to them. So, we talked about herbs last time. We had like, I think it was the common herbs that I would recommend for cats.
Mhm.
There's a couple of returns, but then we have some new little herb friends,
Nice.
also some mushroom friends. So
Okay.
why don't we just I thought I'd go alphabetical order,
That's perfect. You're so
right?
organized.
I know. Um, let's do alphabetical order. So we talked about this herb the last time I was on, and
Mhm.
it's calendula. Um,
Yes.
calendula, it has to be given by a tincture because it's resinous.
Mhm.
Or you can do an infusion. Um, I don't know how well your cat's going to take an infusion, but you could, and you could
Mhm.
syringe it in the kitty's mouth if you want to, once it's cool. So you could do
Yep.
that. Um, with calendula, you would use the petals, and you would use like almost boiling water because of the resin. Um, the dried petals aren't that resinous anymore, but the fresh medicine of calendula makes really great medicine. And you
Mhm.
don't need much. So for a tincture for a kitty, we're dealing with 1 to 3 little specks. So it's you never want to give more than that, in my opinion. So unless you're working with an herbalist or working with somebody, but
Mhm.
we've got the little kitty. If it was a kitten, you would dilute a drop. So you would just take 1 drop, you'd put it in about 15 milliliters of water, which is a half an ounce roughly,
Mhm.
and you take a dropper of that water if you've got a little kitten.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but 6-month-old cat to a year, we're good. And then, like small cat, 1, medium cat, 2, Oscar would be a 2 to 3 drop.
Mhm.
He's huge. You can't
Yeah.
my hand, but very huge, big kitty.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, so it's very small amount and usually about twice a day. Um, with cats, I don't, unless it's a formula already, I don't like to add herbs uh, right away because they are so sensitive to medicine. Um, I like to see how that herb's doing and just like do what's called a simple in herbalism. A simple is one remedy. I just kind of like to do
Mhm.
one remedy unless you can do a formula as well.
Right.
Um, I don't, if you're doing a bunch of single remedies, just try one out, try one thing at a time with your kitty to make sure that it's going okay.
Yeah.
Calendula is great for the gut because it's a bacteriostatic. And
Mm.
that means that it doesn't let bacteria form biofilm, which we do not want. And I don't know if I mentioned this last time. It's like the security guard that comes to the frat house and breaks up the frat boys. Frat boys are excellent singly at home on a Sunday afternoon with their parents. But when they get together with the boys, they cause a lot of problems. So that's a bacteriostatic. It's like, no, you guys, you go home. So we love that. And it just doesn't, it creates this environment that's not conducive for pathogenic bacterial overgrowth. And that's the biggest thing to understand. It also very calming to the small intestine, the intestines in general, but especially the small intestine. It's an anti-inflammatory. It brings down inflammation, and it is warming to the core. So even though it brings down inflammation, it also makes sure that you don't have a lot of cold patches in there. And I would definitely say that in felines in general, compared to canines, are much more on the cool side. Not all of them. I have met a couple warm cats. But if I had to choose energetics of cool and warm with cats, I would definitely choose cool first. So warming the core is really important because we don't want cold spots. We don't want the core of the body to be cold, and everything's connected. So every system is connected. Brain, gut, immune, liver is huge. Liver and lymphatic system are huge for gut and immune because the lymphatic system, it is fat soluble and it controls vitamin D and what fat soluble hormones, fat soluble toxins, fat soluble vitamins. And it's like when I talk about the lymphatic system, I usually talk about how the lymphatic system is how the immune system acts. It's a vehicle in which it acts. Matt Wood, one of my mentors taught me that, and it was profound. When I got that concept, I was like, oh, so it's a huge part of the immune system. We hear all about the microbiome and what a big part of the immune system it is, but the lymphatics interact with that microbiome. And so the lymphatics and the spleen and the microbiome form 95% of the immune system. So we love calendula for that reason.
That's amazing. Yes. And I have to share a quick story. When my cat Aylin got exposed to some sort of toxin, some chemical toxin that she ingested several weeks ago when she was out in the backyard from something that blew in, because I don't keep anything toxic in my yard. I ended up, a friend of mine recommended using homeopathic calendula as part of the treatment. We were using that in bentonite clay, but the combination was beautiful. And I never would have thought of calendula. So now it's like, oh, now it's going to be like one of my, well, let's check that first, let's see if calendula would help.
Oh yeah. Calendula is just great. And another thing that it does, especially for like geriatric or cats that are ill, is that it increases assimilation of nutrients in the gut, which is really important. And it also helps the liver function. And we want all of that. We want that systemic effect. So calendula is a lovely, lovely remedy for kitties.
Is there any time that you would use it just like intermittent support for older cats, or is it something that you would wait until there was an issue that you would use it for?
No. In fact, like you could use homeopathic calendula probably a couple times a week to help the lymphatic system keep moving.
Nice.
Or you could do like a diluted drop, and like I said, 15 mils and with one drop, and you could do that every day, so that it helps the lymphatic system either way.
Nice.
So yeah,
awesome.
Yeah,
very
calendula
cool.
is really safe long term.
Nice. Good to know. I'm so glad I learned about that. I had I'd never deep dived on calendula, so that's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
and I'm taking
it
notes,
is
y'all.
wonderful, wonderful. And there's so many. We could literally probably do a 3-hour show on just calendula.
Yeah,
So crazy that plant is. It's just amazing.
yeah.
The next C is we discussed. This is another one, another overlapper. I'll just make an honorable mention here is catnip.
Mhm.
We mentioned before, if you want the gut to be clean and functioning, you want the nervous system to be, you want to deal with the nervous system first.
Yeah.
And their catnip helps the cat's nervous system. It has an affinity towards cats in general. It obviously has a relaxation effect.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's sedating, and you can kitty high. That
Yeah.
kitty high is really important. It helps them get out of fight or flight. So catnip is a really good nervine for relieving stress. And if your cats are stressed out or really sensitive to noise or very reactive, catnip is a really great way to give daily to help your cat relax. And that is
Nice.
going to help the gut.
Mhm. Mhm.
Another one in the C's,
Mhm.
I don't believe we talked about the last time, is chamomile.
Yeah.
One of the things about chamomile is that you want to use the uh, Matricaria racuta. That is the Latin name. Let me put that in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put that in the chat. You want to
Cool.
use this. You want to look at your, oh, I don't even know how to put it in chat.
If you go to the top right corner of your screen, it will say comments, and see if you can type a comment at the bottom.
No, it says I have to connect to YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, tell me
I'll put it in the private chat to you.
okay.
There it is. You can put it in the chat.
Got it.
So you want to use what's called German chamomile versus
Okay.
Roman chamomile.
German.
German chamomile is much safer than Roman chamomile. So um, you can use an infusion like a tea. You steep it about 20 minutes, or it makes a nice glycerate or a tincture. So either one is fine. Again, we're going to do, with a tincture, we're going to do diluted 2-3 drops. Or with glycerates, I usually double the dose. So because it's
Mhm.
in glycerin.
Yeah.
Um, so we're doing like 1 to 6 drops. I would just start out with 1 and see how my cat does.
So would this be for like digestive upsets and things like something that's
Chamomile
maybe
is,
soothed or calmed or how?
yeah, chamomile is really great at, a lot of people don't realize this, but it actually has the ability to modulate the nervous system.
Oh, nice.
And so it's going to help with the gut brain axis, the vagus nerve in the gut. And that allows the body to have access to its gut, to digestion, liver function, bringing down oxidation, allowing more oxygen to the cells. It decreases inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's an antispasmodic in the gut. So when
Mm,
Kitty's not feeling well,
yeah.
if Kitty is coughing up a lot of hairballs, chamomile is great for that. Um, and any type of reflux, again, regurgitation.
Yeah.
Coughing up hairballs is kind of a form of regurgitation, but it's not regurgitating the food.
Right. Right. That is
And
true.
in coughing up hairballs in general, I haven't had a hairball experience yet with the kids, but Bones coughed one up every now and then. And
Mhm.
chamomile is really good, and you could mix it with like slippery elm. It's really good at soothing those tissues after coughing up a hairball. Um,
Mhm.
so I love chamomile. Um, you can get creative. You can mix it with a little catnip. You can mix it with a little calendula if you want. You can mix it up and see how it works with your kitty. There's even a homeopathic version of chamomile too.
Mhm.
But cats seem to have a nice affinity towards it. They don't dislike it anyway. But again, check your Latin names and use the Matricaria racuta. Um,
Perfect.
let's skip to the G's.
Okay.
Ginger,
Nice.
ginger. So ginger is what's called hot. So
Mhm.
we want to use very little amount of ginger. You want to before you use ginger for the reasons, for like nausea or vomiting or something like that, you want to test out ginger in your cat. You want to
Mm,
see. And because you're going to use either an infusion, and you can use like little droplets of liquid on your cat's food or in the mouth. Just
mhm.
make sure, taste it yourself and make sure it's not too hot, not
Yeah.
not like skin temperature, but hot as in spicy hot.
Yeah.
Sure that
Yeah.
you haven't made it too strong.
Mhm.
Um, but ginger is wonderful because it's a really great anti-inflammatory in the gut. It's
Nice.
antibacterial, it's antifungal, it's an antioxidant, which makes the liver work better. And anytime the liver's working better, the gut and immune system are there thanking everyone.
Yes, they're happy.
Yeah, ginger can help move circulating fluids, and
Mm,
that it makes it very important for kitties. Anything that increases circulating fluids is good. It also helps heal the gut lining. It
yeah.
again reduces inflammation. It's pretty much a superhero in that department. You just want to see, and it's wonderful for the immune system. So it really helps the immune system thrive and be better in general. But and it's also an antitoxin, so it helps
Mm,
the body deal with airborne pollutants, environmental toxins, different types of heavy metals. It's also, a lot of people don't see it as an antifungal, but I mentioned it's an antifungal, and fungus and metals are connected. So
mm.
if your your cat had, you should get me like a buzzer, like, uh, um, every time I say dog, ow, um, uh, uh, um, the interesting thing is that you really can't have a lot of yeast in the body
Mhm.
without heavy metals. So they're bound. And
Interesting.
ginger helps with heavy metals, and it also helps with yeast. So
Nice.
a lot of things that do really well with yeast also work with heavy metals. If they don't, you want to definitely get something on board for heavy metals. And our cats definitely can be high in metals.
Yeah.
I recommend hair testing.
Mhm.
Um, I think in general, it seems to me, now, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, Pam. Um, because definitely, I'm out of my element here.
Yeah.
In the dog world, I'm very confident. Here, I'm like a little, but it seems to me, from someone who's not directly in, like, immersed in the cat world,
Mhm.
um, a lot of cat homes kind of just like focus on the dogs and forego the cat health.
100%.
And I
Diet
find
included.
that, yeah, and the thing about cats is they have their baseline longevity line is so, well, I don't, that for me, it's, you know, I think cats can easily live into their 20s.
Mhm.
Like every cat I've ever had has lived into its 20s.
Wow.
Um, and I think, I look like introspection, like I'm guilty of that. Like the
Mhm.
last 2 years of being around kitty people have really, I'm like, God, my cats have been so low maintenance. I
Mhm.
eat a good diet though. So, but my cats have
Yeah.
been so low maintenance. But when I do my heavy metal testing, um, I'm gonna start doing my cats
Mhm.
and make sure that, that something isn't crazy. Like, Oscar, my new kitty, he has a nodule on his
Right hip?
right hand side, a nodule. And what's interesting is a few weeks ago it was flat, and it kind of felt like he had a piece of flat tofu inside his fat, right?
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
that's really interesting. And now it's not flat anymore. It's like round and kind
Mhm.
of hard, and he doesn't like it when you push on it, but um it's quite large. It's probably about that big. So I'm not really concerned that it's like a cancerous tumor, because a tumor that big he would be sick. Um so but we're working on getting rid of it right now. I don't know what it is, but it definitely probably has something to do with his first few weeks of life, in my opinion.
I wonder if it's a fatty lipoma?
Well, I thought I'm
Or
hoping it is.
yeah.
It's
Is it
changed shape.
is
It
it
is in his fat.
is it on his right rear leg?
No, it's on his torso.
It's on his torso. Okay. Interesting. Well, it's
Yeah, and
probably
it was flat and now it's round. And
mhm.
so I'm just like, well, Oscar, we're going to get rid of this. I don't know what it is, but we're working with assimilation and elimination. And, he, like I said, he went
Mhm.
from super, super like skin and bones to, uh, well, I hate to say it, but he's a fatty boombalatti. He is. I can literally squeeze like that thick of a fat roll on his belly. And he eats, he eats a raw diet. But he does. We didn't realize that he was stealing his brother's food.
Right.
And Carl's fit and trim, and he's at his fight and weight. But Oscar, no. And Oscar's much more lethargic, and he's not interested in like looking out the window and wanting to eat birds, even though I won't. Carl
Mhm.
would be a massive killer if I let him outside. They go outside supervised, but
Right.
not unsupervised.
Right.
So so it's interesting. I'm working with its lymphatic system because it's obviously probably stagnant, but I think
Mhm.
we're like, I definitely have been guilty of this. And so it's kind of interesting. Like, I'm going to try some of these herbs that I have going on right now with you guys on
Yep.
Oscar to see if we can get whatever it is just to go away.
Yep.
Try not to give it an audience. I try whenever an animal, and this is one of the best things, and it's so good for the immune system and the heart and the vagus nerve and fight or flight for both you and your animal, whether it be a doggy or a kitty. Um, when your cat has a problem or your dog has a problem, either one, um, try not to give it an audience. Like, that it's happening. You can get a diagnostic, right? You can find out
Mhm.
what it is, but try not to focus on it every day.
Right.
Just work towards it, but keep a very uplifted attitude and just don't give it like what I call, I've learned it's called woundology, where we have these wounds or we have these illnesses and it's all we talk about. And
Right.
we just focus on them. We tell everyone,
Yeah.
we share the love with it, oh God, my cat, he's my cat, he's giving it,
Yeah.
just like I just did with you, but I probably would do it to the next 18 people I meet, right? And
Right.
that creates this vibration of illness. And we want to be
Mhm.
very careful with that because
Yes.
it's at a detriment to us and it's also at a detriment to our cat. So
Mhm.
we don't talk about it. We just know that we're starting to take action to whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm not biopsying it. It isn't as fat. Um,
Mhm.
but it came on like that and it wasn't there a few weeks ago. So I'm just,
No, I love that you said that because it is scientific fact that whatever energy you are focused on is what you're attracting. So if we focus on, oh my gosh, my cat is sick and it's got this, and you become obsessed and consumed with that every day, you are just attracting more and more and more, and that problem will get bigger and bigger and bigger and worse. And we got to stop. We got to stop, like just like you said. And I have a question. No, actually, not a question. It's a comment. You said something about heavy metals. I find the most common sources of heavy metal is in vaccines that are given to cats over and over and over too many, way too many times. Um, and somebody asked about where you get a test for heavy metal testing. It's a hair tissue mineral analysis test. And you
yes.
can ask your vet to do one if they have that. Now, Dr. Katie Woodley offers one through her website, and you would work with her to get that test done. Send her the little fur sample or whatever. But just ask your vet if they can do a hair tissue mineral analysis test. And it's very interesting what will come back on those tests. But
Yeah.
it's like sometimes they have access or they acquire the heavy metal. It can be from outside, it's soil. There are metals in soil, but that's probably not going to be the most common source for most of our cats because most of our cats are indoor cats, at least in this community. And if they do go outside, they're not just roaming the hills and, going into dangerous work sites that are mining stuff and all that. They're in the backyard or
Well,
something
and
like that.
aluminum is an issue with cats.
Yes,
So,
yes, and that can
you
be
know,
from tin. It can be sometimes
and
it can be
packaging.
from and packaging, exactly, from the canned foods that they're eating. If it's not super high quality, that stuff leaches into the food, and they can,
And
get
like
some
the
of that
little
too.
packets, the packets, they have an aluminum liner. Um,
The
they,
pouches.
there's a lot of aluminum, and they're different. And our floors can have heavy metals on them, and they're walking all over our floors with their little
Mhm.
feet, and then they're grooming and licking, and
Yep.
um. So yeah, I do think it's important to get your cat tested maybe once a year or once every other year. Um, uh, so yeah, we went off on a tangent. I'll get back to my alphabet, but yeah, so I think that it is important to not ignore our kitty health.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so the next letter in the alphabet is L. And that's lion's mane mushroom.
Oh, yes.
Lion's mane mushroom is really great because it's 100% water soluble. So it's accessible. It doesn't need a lot, like it doesn't need to be extracted. I really like that. You can use a powder. It has very little taste to it
Mm.
because it's 100% water soluble. Um, and cats don't seem to mind it. And I love lion's mane. One of the things it does is it helps stop biofilm in the gut.
Nice.
We love that. It actually dismantles the protective coating in biofilm. I use it a lot in like line protocols and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and you can just give it in a little tiny bit of food or in raw goat's milk or raw cow's milk, or bone broth, whatever your kitty will have. Just sprinkle dink it in, and you don't need a lot.
Right.
So unless your cat's dealing with cancer or like a nervous system disorder or something, you might have a little more.
Mhm.
But I've noticed that of all the commercially available mushrooms, lion's mane seems to be the most potent to me. You don't need as much, like as versus like a turkey tail or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, the next one is, we
Mhm.
talked about this before, but we're going to talk about a different aspect of this one, and it's milk thistle.
Mhm.
Um, milk thistle is an alternative, which means that it slowly makes changes in the body. And if you just use the seed, because most milk thistle that you're going to find is going to be a standardized milk thistle. But if you just use milk thistle seed, um, you can use it for a longer period of time. There's a lot of like, don't use milk thistle for a long. It's not true. If you use regular milk thistle seed, you're fine. It's the really highly refined, standardized extracts that you need to not use for a really long time. Um,
Gotcha.
but milk thistle, of course, protects the liver and helps the liver, which is going to help the gut and the immune system. So there's
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
It's going to help with free radical production, which puts a huge burden on the immune system.
Yes.
Um, it decreases inflammation. And here's the thing about kitties and the gut and everything else in the kitty. Milk thistle is oily. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be processed by the lymphatic system, but it's also going to help add moisture to your kitty. And kitties need a lot of moisture compared to dogs. Um, because they dry out and they are fed dried foods, and that causes systemic dryness. And milk
Mhm.
thistle can really help with that because it has an oiliness to it, and it's very restorative to the body. So it can be used acutely and chronic. For chronic, it helps with biofilm as well. It helps stimulate the lymphatic system. It helps regenerate cells because when your cat is making new cells every second, right? But you want those
Yes.
cells to be healthy cells, not unhealthy cells. And milk thistle can help with that. It helps with the mitochondria, um,
Nice.
and it helps protect cellular mitochondria, which is very important. Another conversation, but mitochondria is your friend and your
Yes.
kit's friend. So love, love, love milk thistle. Uh, I'm going to the O's, Pam. I'm going to the O's.
O's. I love it.
So another mushroom that I love and you don't hear a lot about, but love, love, love it. I carry a tincture of it on my website, but you can find you can find a tincture. You're going to need it. You're going to have a tincture. And if you're concerned about alcohol, even though we are only using 1 to 3 drops, you can give milk thistle, powdered milk thistle to your cat, or in a dropper to help protect the liver from alcohol. But I'm not concerned about that amount of alcohol because it's almost negligible. But you can take the tincture and you can open up the top and put it in, if it's in an amber bottle, you can put it in almost boiling water and just set it in the water and open the top and let a lot of that alcohol evaporate. You can do that too.
Nice.
Because there's a ton of water in mushrooms. And so one of the things about alcohol that people don't understand is alcoholic tinctures. They've been around forever. One of the things that people don't understand is the plant material itself has a ton of water in it if you're using fresh material, which you would use fresh material in an oyster mushroom. But it has a bunch of water. You use water when you mix it with the alcohol, when you extract the medicine out of the mushroom, right? And so like, let's just say 60% alcohol is going into the mixture. Well, I'm using 60% alcohol. That's not what you're going to get when you take it out. It's going to be a lot less because there's so much water in the material itself. Yeah. So the drop that you're using it's really tiny.
Yeah.
But oyster mushrooms, love them. There's a wide variety of oyster mushrooms. Again, I would use a tincture. You're not going to give your cat like fresh mushrooms. You won't be able to give him enough to even matter. But oyster mushrooms are anti-inflammatory. They modulate the immune system. They are really great because they activate what's called interferon, which is anti-cancer, and it protects against infections in the gut. Oyster mushrooms they are really awesome because they're super antioxidant. They, again, help the liver, and that helps the gut and the immune system. And they also decrease the pathogenic overgrowth. So oyster mushrooms are really good at bringing down bacterial counts. And they increase short chain fatty acids in the gut, which is also really important for gut health. So I love oyster mushrooms. They don't get talked about enough, but
I mean, I see them at the grocery store, but I've never seen an oyster mushroom tincture for an animal.
Yes, I actually take one. It's really great for blood pressure and blood sugar and triglycerides, and heart disease runs in my entire family: dad, mom, grandma, grandpa, the whole thing. We're a bunch of fire signs. And so I take it as just I used to take maitake, and now I switch it up, and now I take oyster. So and I really like it. It really helps me feel a lot calmer. Love it.
Nice.
Yeah. So oyster, that's O. Now we're going to go to P. This is one of my favorite herbs.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this herb is that I have caught my cat Bones nibbling on it, which is cool. And it's anywhere you want to be. The only place that I don't think there's a lot of it is in the desert. Probably in the city, but not like out in the desert. But it's in every sidewalk, probably every walk you've ever taken in the woods, anywhere there's plants, this little sucker is there looking at you. It's called plantain. It is Plantago major. And then there's Plantago minor. There's a thin leaf plantain. This is the thick leaf plantain, but they're pretty interchangeable. They're cooling. They're help repair antibiotic damage. If your dog, I'm sorry, give me the, hold on, wait. If your cat has had antibiotics, it's going to help protect the gut. And it does so much more than that. I love talking about plantain. So it can repair antibiotic damage. Of course, it brings down inflammation. It helps with food intolerances, leaky gut, sensitivities, diarrhea, vomiting. It's just a lovely little plant. You can use a glycerate. It loves glycerin because it has a lot of moisture in it. You can use a tincture or a glycerate, same dosages as before. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's like the most I'd ever use, twice a day.
Yeah.
Um, of the 6 of the glycerate, 3 of the tincture. But one thing that it does that is just beauty in gut health is that it increases glycocalyx in the gut wall, in the gut. And commensal bacteria can't stick to the gut wall without adequate levels of glycocalyx. Another
Mm,
thing plantain does is it helps protect the gut against glyphosate.
nice.
And
Huge.
yeah, and science is really trying to figure out what things out there protect the gut. Like humic acid protects the gut against glyphosate, uh, but
Glycine.
plantain does as well.
Nice.
So love it. Um, let's see what else we got. OPQR. Oh, reishi.
Reishi. Yes.
Reishi mushroom. Cats hate it.
Really. Take
You
that.
just gotta dilute it. You gotta dilute it. Just
Mhm.
dilute it. Add. It doesn't extract in glycerin, but you can take a reishi mushroom tincture, like pour out half of it into another bottle, right?
Yep.
Let the alcohol off, burn off of it, okay? And then add glycerin, food grade glycerin. Add
Mhm.
glycerin, and then shake it really well, and your cat will be fine. It's very, very, very bitter, but it
Mm.
has such great benefits. Um, it it has the liver affinity. It helps the kidneys. It helps the weakened immune system. It's in herbalism we call it the grandma mushroom. It builds everybody up. It gives all of that wisdom, that plant wisdom. I picture the fungi in the forest, and I picture little reishi going, now you do that and you do this. It is kind of the director of the mushrooms, and it's very, very anti-inflammatory, and
Nice.
it's another one that helps with circulating fluids. And those are things that are always cat friendly, things that help with circulating fluids. I love, love, love anything that helps move fluid. So it has an effect on the nervous system and system, and the liver and the gut, and it helps digest things and increase assimilation. So it's great. The only thing, it is a little warming, but I found it to be pretty compatible to a lot of cats.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that's
But
awesome.
it is very bitter, and I don't like the taste. So um,
Can you hide it
that's
in
my
like
plan.
sardine water or bone broth or
Yeah,
goat's
you
milk or
could.
something?
Yeah, because again, if you use a tincture, um, or a glycerate, you're just going to use a few drops.
Yeah.
Uh, you're not going to use a ton. Um,
Mhm.
so, I mean, you can build depending on what you're using it for. If you're using it for something that needs a hammer, then you probably blend it with some other mushrooms and use more of it. But if you're
Right.
just using it to help your cat in general, then, for gut health or immune health, without dealing with cancer,
Mhm.
then you should be fine with a low dosage.
Let me ask a question because I know people are probably thinking of this. Should we be giving these tinctures away from their meals?
I usually just give it to them before they eat, but you can give it to them with meals. With
Okay.
mushrooms, I try not to give it with too much food. Um, they tend to compete for nutrition in the gut. So, uh, but if that's the way that you have to give it, that's the way that you have to give it. I always
Mhm.
prefer it like directly in the mouth, or if they'll have it in some type of liquid, right?
Mhm.
Um, but if you have to do the food, you have to do the food.
Yeah.
So I've had good results either way,
Yeah.
you know.
That's awesome. Good to
Um,
know.
where is T? No S's. Turmeric.
Turmeric. Yes.
Turmeric.
Yes.
Turmeric is another one like reishi. It's kind of hard to get cats to eat it. I tend to put it in glycerin. I don't. One thing you need to know about glycerin is it can cause nausea. So
Mm.
if you're given a bunch of stuff in glycerin and your cat is like pukey and nauseous, it's probably too much glycerin.
Good to know.
But and you can hide, like you could hide it in things, but the turmeric tincture is going to give you a higher dose of medicinal components, and just a couple drops. So
Mm,
you do that as well.
nice.
Instead of having to give a bunch of powder, you're not going to be successful with a cat, I don't think. Maybe it's a cat that needs it so much, um, but a tincture of turmeric, you can use it and just use maybe like 1 to 3 drops. That's it. So you
Okay.
can try that too. But turmeric is really great because it's another one that increases circulation.
Mhm.
It's very good at warming the body. It's wonderful for the liver. It's wonderful for inflammation and food sensitivities and healing the gut. You want to give it with some fat. Um, I always add some fat to it. And so like if you put the tincture in like an oil, even though they're not going to mix, like
Mm,
mix it up, and then maybe your cat will lick the oil, that like a fish oil or something like that,
mhm,
and they'll,
mhm.
they'll tolerate a few drops of turmeric in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's such a great herb for everything: gut, liver,
Mhm.
immune, the
Immune.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So, and it moves stagnation, and it again, it really helps with circulation.
Nice. Oh, and look what we have another visitor. Aylin is here. Hello, sweet girl. Say hi to Rita.
Hi, sweetie.
Such a
Is this another? Is that not the cat that was over there earlier?
No, this is Aylin. She is my 8-year-old,
Hi,
and
sweetie.
she's about 6.5 pounds.
Yeah,
Maybe
she's
6.
tiny.
She's tiny, tiny. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's like an ant on Oscar. Um, that's pretty much it. Those are the ones that I would pick. I have great timing. It's 5:53.
That's so funny. I do have one question. If
Yeah, let's do
you
questions.
have like a cat who is having a lot of histamine release, like I see a lot of cats in that are dealing with over vaccination issues and immune responses to flea tick meds and their body is just flooding with histamine because it's like there is so much here to attack. The body is so out of balance. And so, is there anything that you would recommend from an herbal perspective to help settle down that histamine level?
Yeah. So, nettle.
Nettle.
Nettle. I would. But it's not herb. But my favorite is histaminium. Um,
Mm,
30C. It just works so well. Another thing is if a cat is having like consistent histamine responses, you really want to make sure that you're filtering the water and there is zero chlorine in your water. Zero
mhm, mhm.
chlorine and fluoride in your water because especially chlorine um, compounds histamine response by over 80%.
Wow.
So, and it's not hard for a cat to increase their saturation of chlorine in their tissues pretty
Yeah.
quickly if they're drinking chlorine water. A lot of people don't realize, and a lot of people, I found with water, there's an interesting construct going on.
Mhm,
Like a lot of my friends, they know their water's polluted. Okay, they
mhm.
know that they're drinking city water or well water that hasn't been tested. They know this. They know they're drinking nasty bottled water. Um, Most bottled water is nasty, by the way. That's
Mhm,
a total marketing scam.
mhm.
Um, but they don't do anything about it, and they just continue drinking it. And with all the anxiety that's happening in the world right now, people really need to understand that a lot of anxiety is chlorine driven.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing, and what's happened is it just brings up your level of histamine so that you're reacting to like all the histamines in your food when you
Yeah.
normally wouldn't react uh, if you didn't have that level of chlorine in your tissues.
Yes.
Um, and the interesting fact, which doesn't apply to kitties, but humans, and we all are humans here on the podcast.
Mhm.
If you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, and you go see a psychiatrist or a psychiatrist, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, I've been having these terrible panic attacks. What is the one medicine that they will give you right off the bat?
Prozac?
No,
No. I don't know. I don't do medicine.
an antihistamine.
It's an antihistamine?
They give you the first drug that they try, the standard of care
Wow.
for panic attacks and anxiety
Benadryl?
is a prescription antihistamine.
Oh, wow.
Even though no one's talking about the fact that the histamine is causing the panic and anxiety, right? And you think like I'm losing my mind, but actually it's just chemistry. You have too much chlorine in your body and
Mhm.
you have too much histamine going on. Or you're eating too much histamine, you're eating leftovers every day that's super high in histamine. And then some people, including our animal friends, can have what's called SNPs on their genetic code that, and one of them is the inability to break down histamine like normal people do. I
Right.
actually have that one. So,
Wow.
I just take a DAO supplement. DAO is in the gut and it
Mhm.
breaks down histamine in the
Yep.
gut.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and chlorine annihilates DAO. So there's, I just can't overemphasize the need to filter water. You filter it. It is one of the most important things that you can do.
Yep.
And there is a company, uh, it is called Hydroviv, Hydroviv, Hydroviv. It is a very cool company in that it's in the United States. So anyone outside the United States, I can't speak to it.
Yeah.
But in the United States, they use your zip code and then they get the data from your municipality and they send you a filter specifically for your water.
Oh, wow.
And then they recheck it. You change the filter once every 6 months and they recheck the the data again when you reorder your filter for that zip code. And our filter, I think it was about $200
Mhm.
and it for the whole thing, not the replacement.
Yeah.
Um, and it took us about 10 minutes to put it in. It works with the cold water in your sink. And I'm drinking it right now.
Mhm. That is so interesting, and I know true story. I have a family member, I'm not gonna say who they are. They have a water filtration, like a reverse osmosis filtration system on their kitchen counter at their sink. And when it came to refilling the cat's water bowls, they went to the tap, and I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You
Yes,
just
what are
put
you
borrowing
doing?
water. What are you doing in tap water?"
Yeah, what are you
I
doing?
I
What are you
don't
doing?
people are just they don't think. They don't think.
No.
God bless them. They don't realize they're just like autopilot, and I think we just have to stop and we have to think about or become aware of what we're on autopilot doing, number 1. And like you started with the beginning, like so many people just focus and do give all of their energy to improving their dogs, but their cats are like second class citizens and they don't think about their processed pet food diet, and they ignore all of their why aren't they not doing the same thing for their cats that they do for their dogs? We have to stop and think about, if I'm doing this for me and I'm drinking reverse osmosis water or filtered water, and make sure that what they're filtering, and they're getting all the really bad nasty stuff like fluoride and chloramines. Why are we not doing that for the cats?
I know. I know, and I've seen people do it with their dogs. Like, well, no, I have to change the filter too much. Like, oh my God. So, and that's another thing, like, and I brought it up specifically because the immune system, it it can get completely overwhelmed from these chemicals in our water and these
Mhm.
cysts and viruses and bacteria. And
Yep.
then also dogs can have panic and fright. You may not even know it, or dogs with severe anxiety, or
Mhm.
our anxiety is going to affect, sorry, hold on. Cats can have severe anxiety. Um, you know,
Mhm.
it friends of mine noticed that when they weren't being so stressed out at work, their cats were so much better,
Yes.
so much better. And we don't want that stress and anxiety to be from something as simple as unfiltered water,
Yeah.
right? And we
Mhm.
also, when you're in fight or flight or panic or fright or anxiety, you have zero access to your gut and food assimilation.
Yeah.
And like never eat when you're stressed
No.
because it's not getting assimilated because
No.
everything's going to the musculature and the heart. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's interesting. We don't think about these things necessarily, but I think we definitely need to.
Yeah, I do too. Janae says, "Can you help me understand what a histamine response is, please?"
Um, for your cat,
Mhm. Or in you. I guess it the
so
histamine response.
I will tell you, I know exactly when my histamine is acting up. So I could eat something and my nose will start to run. And I'm
Mhm.
not talking about something hot like a Thai soup. That's
Yeah.
different. But like say that I ate some grapes and then all of a sudden my nose is running. That's histamine.
Mhm.
Or my forehead starts to itch or my feet start to itch, right?
Mhm.
That's histamine. I
Mhm.
immediately take a histaminium and it goes away.
Yeah.
Um, but like I know that in myself. Now in cats, um, you may get itching,
Mhm.
scratching, whining,
Mhm.
um, crying. Uh, um,
Even
usually it's an immediate it's usually after they eat. It's
Mhm.
almost always after they eat. So they're reacting to histamine in the food. And like leftovers, if you leave like people like will have a can of food and they'll leave half the can in the refrigerator. That's going to be high histamine because it's already histamine ridden because it's been manufactured. So anything that isn't frozen and then thawed and given is pretty high in histamine. That's the thing about histamine, it's everywhere. You can't hide from it.
Yeah.
And it's so important for the functions in our body. We have histamine receptors in our eyes, in our heart, in our brains, everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Everywhere. Feet.
Mhm.
I mean, just absolutely everywhere. And so do our animals. So
Yep.
it's usually itching, scratching, biting, gnawing, and behavioral issues after they eat. And if you
Yeah.
want to test that out, then um, give a histaminium 2 balls, and you could do a liquid dose for a cat.
Mhm.
Um, put a few balls in a little bit of water and shake it up, um, and just give a dropper of that water. And you can do it like 1 to maybe 4 times and see
Mhm.
if that behavior goes away. If it does, it's probably definitely histamine.
Yeah. And I was gonna add the other thing that is histamine responses is like when you start sneezing from something outside, allergies or whatever, when your eyes start running and itching, that's the body's histamine release. If your cat starts having sneezing and their nose are running, that's a histamine response to whatever is causing stress on the immune system, and that the sinuses are is the first barrier from the respiratory system. So when something starts to come in and stress that, the body sends out a histamine response, basically. And if your cat or you are stung by a bee and you get all swollen up and red, and that's a histamine response. Your body is just having an immune response to something that's causing stress on a ramped up level,
Yes,
basically,
absolutely.
very ramped up level. Um, Lori Christine says, the kitties and I quit drinking tap water 12 years ago when I turned on the faucet and it smelled very strongly of chlorine. Yes. She goes, I buy bottled water for us. Be sure to check your bottled water because not all the sources are clean. And BPA leaches into the water. You don't know how that's products being stored in warehouses. Um, she also says the municipal tap water here isn't high enough quality. If I had dogs, horses, birds, or any other companions, they would only drink filtered water. Absolutely. Um, what else was I going to say about the water? Oh, you guys, the Environmental Working Group, if you go to ewg.org, they have a page where you can check water quality in your municipality, and just, you have to search. I don't know exactly where on their website, but there is a section where that you can do water test. Type in your zip code, and it'll pull up your municipality and tell you what the most
You'll
recent
be amazed at what's
testing.
on that page.
It is shocking, shocking. It just, I checked my water system, which thankfully, God bless my landlord. He is like he's an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. Okay. He's a water snob like me. And he had a whole house filtration system put in before I moved in. And when I moved in, I said, "Hey, do you think you could put in an RO system?" And he's like, "Sure." $200 later, he installed an RO system. And then I just happened to be looking on the EWG website like a year ago, and just out of curiosity, what does my water system here? Oh my God. And I sent it to him and I said, "Thank you again." Look,
Yeah, it's
this
really
is what
scary. It's really
it's
scary. And bottled
horrible.
water, it can be almost just as bad, which, I mean, like I said, bottled water is a marketing ploy. It A lot of it's just tap water,
Mm-hmm.
filtered tap water, and it's it it's sad. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's no rules
Yeah.
for bottled water.
It's
So,
crazy. Yep.
so I think we just all need to be mindful of our water consumption and where it comes from and what we're doing with it. And I think it's just often overlooked, and we just don't want to do that. And one thing I do want to say before we leave is, for the gut and the immune system, again, want to really like emphasize stress, because stress does another thing in the gut. It brings down digestive enzymes, and
Mm.
digestive enzymes in the gut are the first defense against pathogens getting into your cat. Stomach acid destroys the majority of the pathogens, especially anything if they're eating raw diet, if they're eating kibble and there's some type of pathogen in the kibble, anything they're eating, the stomach acid usually does destroy it, and doesn't get into the small intestine. But when they have low stomach acid, that's when you get those types of issues, and also food sensitivities and allergic like hyper responses that we don't want, because they cause a lot of inflammation.
Absolutely. This is so amazing. I made a list. I took notes. I hope you guys took notes. This is great. Rita, you are a hero. Thank you for all the work you do. And I
You
can't
are
wait
welcome.
for the feline herbalist book to come out.
We're going to try to put together a feline herbalism course.
Of course.
Uh, you
Oh,
know,
let me know when that's available.
we
I'll
definitely will.
That's
So
that's awesome. Well, God bless you. We just appreciate you so much, and thank you for your passion for kitties and for herbs and for bringing those together for us. And I hope you guys got a lot of really good ideas and ways to support your cat's gut and immune systems. And if I guess that's all. We'll just wrap it up here. But thank you guys. Have a great rest of your
thank
evening, and
you.
stay on because I want to see Carl.
Okay. Take
So
care.
thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.